Have you ever noticed how cats stare at you? Not with a quick glance, but with a deep lingering intensity, as if they are looking past your face and into the very substance of your soul. It is not casual or random. It's intentional. Because what if I told you they're not simply curious? They're seeing something that the others around you often miss, something you haven't fully discovered, something divine. Now wait seriously. Think about this. What if the stare of a cat is a type of spiritual recognition, a subtle acknowledgement from creation that there's more to you than meets the eye, and within you lies a presence so sacred and disturbing to the natural animals, particularly cats, can't help but stop and notice, not yours. Appearance is not your status, but your regularity of calling your divine code. You see, there is a special set of individuals on this earth who God has marked before birth, made apart to carry light where others bring noise, the ones who were never supposed to blend in, and you are one of them. Cats, those mysterious otherworldly watchers they know, because they don't respond to appearance, presence, and the unseen when they stare at you, follow you, and arrive apparently out of nowhere in your worst moments. Isn't random. It's a message from the spirit realm. Don't disregard it. Scroll past. Don't tell yourself it's just an animal acting weird, since this is the start of your affirmation that you are more than just sensitive. Spiritually awake, you are not only loved, but also protected. And this message has, before we uncover the enigma that has been following you in silence, I'd like to thank you. Those of you who have sponsored this area via Super S, your generosity makes it. These profound discoveries can reach more people who have been waiting for enlightenment. And whether you've donated or please hear this, I am genuinely appreciative for your presence. Alone means that everything in this place exists because of you. If your spirit has, if you feel that calm electric pull in your chest, your body has already begun to stir. Knowing Chosen One, have you ever noticed how cats stare at you with a profound, lingering intensity, as if they're looking past your face and into the very substance of your soul? It's not casual. Random is purposeful. Because what if I told you they aren't just curious? They're seeing something that the people around you frequently miss. Something you haven't fully discovered. Something divine. Now wait seriously. Think about this. What if the stare of a cat is a type of spiritual recognition? A subtle acknowledgement from creation that there's more to you than meets the eye. And within you lies a presence so sacred and disturbing to the natural animals, particularly cats, can't help but stop and notice, not yours. Appearance is not your status, but your regularity of calling your divine code. You see, there is a special set of individuals on this earth who God has marked before birth, made apart to carry light where others bring noise, the ones who were never supposed to blend in, and you are one of them. Cats, those mysterious otherworldly watchers they know, because they don't respond to appearance, presence, and the unseen. When they stare at you, follow you, and arrive apparently out of nowhere in your worst moments. Isn't random. It's a message from the spirit realm. Don't disregard it. Scroll past. Don't tell yourself it's just an animal acting weird, since this is the start of your affirmation that you are more than just sensitive. Spiritually awake, you are not only loved, but also protected. And this message has, before we uncover the enigma that has been following you in silence, I'd like to thank you. Those of you who've sponsored this space through Super, thank you. Your generosity makes this sacred revelations to reach more people who've been waiting for clarity. Whether you've donated or not, please hear this. I am sincerely grateful that you're here. Your presence alone means everything. Space exists because of you today, if your spirit has already begun to awaken. You feel an electrifying pull in your chest, as if this message is coming directly to you. Don't disregard it. It's not a coincidence. It's your higher self. Awakening comment 777 below as a signal that you're ready to receive. Remember to prepare to ascend, since by the end of this lecture, you won't just understanding why cats are drawn to you will help you grasp what they've seen, and, more importantly, you'll begin to finally recognize it in yourself, the hidden strength, the divine light, and the truth can no longer be ignored. Are you ready? Take a deep breath, open your spirit, and let's begin. God's chosen ones. Cats perceive something in you that even you don't see. This only applies to you choose one. Have you ever wondered why cats seem to act differently around you? Why they look at you for lengthy periods of time, as if they're trying to tell you something? You've been conditioned to assume it's merely instinct and random feline behavior. With no deeper meaning, you've been told they're bored, moody, or simply bizarre. But what if that explanation wasn't the whole story? The tale was part of a larger effort to separate you from a truth that your spirit has always recognized deep down. Ancestors did not perceive cats as eccentric pets. Rather, they saw them for what they truly are. Sacred beings are not toys or ornaments, but spiritual sentinels stationed on Earth. To defend areas unknown in any ancient culture, animals were not viewed from a scientific or entertaining perspective. They were allies in the supernatural, particularly the cat. At the heart of this divine hierarchy stood a creature who moved softly, yet carried the weight of cosmic sight. Have you ever noticed how cats tend to draw to you when you're in sorrow or deep in thought? It's not only, it's a divine appointment. They're drawn to the energy you emit. In ancient Egypt, cats were more than just adored. They were considered extensions of the gods' temples were created in their reverence the goddess. Bastet, the heavenly protector of the spiritual barrier, was frequently represented with the face of a cat, but her visage wasn't. The Egyptians believed that cats could discern both art and spiritual technology. The situation and unnoticed functioning as guards of the home and soul-harming a cat was considered a direct offense to the gods, since these creatures were believed as living portals between realms. However, this devotion is not unique to Egypt across the globe and over time. Civilizations that had no interaction with each other reached the same result. In Celtic legends, black cats are more than animals. They are supernatural witnesses. Cats were thought to guard secret spiritual information, maintaining watch over ancient rites and locations of power in Hinduism. The goddess Shashi, the protector of children and birth, is seen riding a cat. In early Christian mysticism, it appears that feline eyes guard even the entrance of souls into this realm. The lion, a spiritual relative of the domestic cat, represented alertness and God's ever-watchful power. Why do you believe this pattern repeats across? Could spiritual memory run across nations and faiths? Deeper than science dares to delve, the lion roared. Who will not fear the Lord God has spoken? Who can but prophesy Amos 38 in today's hyperlogical? This spiritual connection has been described as superstition. But what if the modern world has become blind to what your spirit remembers as a selected one? You haven't completely lost that sight, which is why animals, particularly cats, react. Because your frequency is unique, your spirit emanates something ancient and eternal. Modern science teaches us that cats can hear ultrasonic sounds, see in near complete darkness, and feel slight vibrations in the ground. But what science will not tell. You are this, and these abilities were divinely designed by the Creator can detect spiritual movement and distinguish divine energy signatures to protect chosen vessels like you, which is why they perch outside your door during your cat sits alongside you during key times in your life. When you cry or are on the edge of a breakthrough, they respond to the vibration of destiny is stirring within you, and he will give his angels responsibility over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. Psalm 91:11. Is it possible that cats, those agents of protection sentinels heaven employs in physical form, stare at people like Nikola Tesla, claim to have formed a deep spiritual contact with animals, particularly a cat named Macaque? Tesla stated that the cat taught him about electricity before he ever read book on the subject. That encounter prompted his lifetime obsession with unseen energies. Something that affected our entire modern world. Was that cat only a buddy, or was it a divine messenger for a chosen vessel? Consider Freddie. Mercury liked his kitties and even devoted songs to them during the worst times of his life. They were his continuous source of comfort, as if they knew more than the folks around him. Was it love or divine? Even Abraham Lincoln, known for his great spiritual understanding, kept cats in the White House. He claimed he trusted their judgment more than some of his cabinet members. What did he feel about their perception that others overlooked? And, perhaps most strangely, Winston Churchill preserved in his war rooms Nelson, a cat, was by his side even throughout important decisions in World War II. The cat remained unnervingly quiet amid bomb attacks, as if it knew how. Navigate fear better than any general, yet ask the beasts, and they will instruct thee and the fowls of the air, and they will tell you work. 12:7, Chosen One. You must begin to ask yourself, why do these beings sit at your feet during moments of transformation? Eyes lock onto you when no one else sees the battle you're fighting. They don't see your flesh, but your calling. Your brilliance is your spiritual stamp, and the world rejects their actions. As quirky heaven knows better, the Lord's eyes are in every area beholding Proverbs 15:3. So, the next time a cat follows you, if someone unexpectedly pauses in your presence or simply refuses to leave your side, do not brush it off. Don't reduce it to coincidence. Choose one that you feel when a cat locks eyes with you. It's not just a moment of curiosity. It's not random. The fixed and unblinking stare is not passive. It is deeply intentional. Like it's staring through your skin into something buried deep beneath your flesh. Why do you believe they do that? Why does it feel like they know something about you that you haven't discovered yet? When a cat watches you, it observes your frequency, aura, and alignment rather than your motions. Cats do not respond to everyone, and not everyone has the same spirituality. Resonance. Some people go into a room unnoticed, But when you walk in, they stop, gaze, and freeze. But their spiritual senses activate, and they're examining something invisible, reading your spiritual ID. The spirit of man is the torch of the Lord, searching all the inward parts of the belly. Proverbs 20:27. And what they detect is divine. They see light in you, not just any light, but light marked by heaven, a light that others and even you may overlook. They can detect when a soul has been chosen, even if you haven't. Even before you've spoken anything, their eyes are already scanning your soul for confirmation, because what's inside you can't be concealed from them. Have you ever observed how a cat would discreetly follow you from room to chamber when your soul is heavy, or how it suddenly emerges on the when anxiety prevents you from sleeping? This isn't a habit. Assignment. Because spiritual creatures, especially those with divine functions, require spiritual guardians. Cats, especially those surrounding the selected, act as if for millennia, standing watch in the same way that angels are assigned to you from birth. Animals are drawn to your light to serve as your watchers. Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth? Minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation. Hebrews 1:14. These beings may wear fur instead of feathers, yet their presence is just as precious as your calling. Being a vessel of light makes you a target, and the darker the world becomes, the more your light shines. You will not go forgotten in this life. A torch wandering through shadowy caves. The darkness knows you're there, but so do the protectors, heavenly agents, heaven-sent guards. And sometimes, think about Florence Nightingale, the creator of modern nursing during the Crimean War. She was followed by a little cat that stayed around her rooms at all times, including during explosions. She said that the cat detected fear before it entered the room and would frequently wake her before trouble hit. Coincidence, protection, or consider Haruki Murakami, a Japanese novelist famous for his mystical ideas. He described how cats would emerge during his most deep periods of solitude and creation, referring to them as leads into the unseen, gentle reminders that something larger was at work behind Stephen King's scenes, are generally influenced by creepy and spiritual elements. During his most rigorous work, he maintained a cat that would not leave his writing hut. In interviews, he mentioned that the cat looked as if it knew what was on the page before I did. And Queen Victoria, the very spiritual monarch, had a mystical affinity with her cats, one in particular. White Heather was known to accompany her before significant events throughout the kingdom. The queen referred to the cat as her spirit keeper. You see, these things don't appear for everyone. They don't sit with everybody. Humans do not curl up close to anybody whose spirit is empty or lost in distraction. They respond to presence, divine appointment. That's why they show up for you. Even the sparrow finds a home, and the swallow a nest for herself, where she might have her young at your altars, O Lord of hosts. Psalm 84:3. They know what you bear, what you're here to perform. They feel the divine architecture within you. Every heaven is designed into your existence, and when you feel the most alone, they show up and curl up at your feet, not for warmth, but for alignment. Guarding the flame inside you that you're not even aware is flickering. That brilliantly ask yourself, chosen one, why they arrive when no one else does. Why do they linger when you feel the most invisible to the world? Why do people stare not at your face, but beyond it? Could it be they were sent when a cat appeared during your anguish, doubt, and silent prayers are a spiritual occurrence that serve as a reminder from heaven? You are noticed, surrounded, and shielded, even if you do not feel divine. The spirit world acknowledges your light. Fear not, for they who are with us, more than those that were with them. 2 Kings 6:16. And here's the epiphany. I've been waiting for that intense, haunting, lovely stare. And it's not simply adoration, is not curiosity, but a spiritual call to awareness. They are asking you to awaken to who you truly are. With their stillness, they are suggesting that you are more than you think. We're here till you realize there's something divine within you that you've probably never really realized. Most people can't see it when they look in the mirror or filter it through a camera lens. Around you will never admit it, and some may not even feel it, but that does not mean it isn't there. Actually, the reason many people overlook it is because it is not meant for their eyes. What dwells inside you was never designed for human applause or shallow acceptance. It was built for spiritual recognition, for response from heaven and its guardians. You were marked before your first breath, chosen before your first stride. There is a sacred light in you. God planted a brilliant light in your soul that you may not feel it during your most difficult moments. You may even question it when you are trying to keep going. But that doesn't change what it is. The unseen realm sees it plainly. Angels respond, and demons fear it. It and animals, particularly cats, are drawn to it because your light is not natural. It is supernatural. Cats aren't fascinated by your haircut or voice, or your reputation. They do not care about wealth, celebrity, or the masks individuals wear. They see into something much deeper. They are highly tuned instruments of spiritual perception, quiet watchers, placed on earth to stand on the boundary between this world and the next. They don't only hear your footsteps. They hear your frequency and see your field, not just your shape. Jesus told it simply in Matthew 5:14. You are the light of the world. A city situated on a hill cannot be hidden. How little you feel, no matter how much you've tried to disappear, offerings, or fit into the background, your light still radiates, shining in spirit. You can't control it. You can't turn it off, since it wasn't made by humans. Breathed into you by God Himself. It is not performance-based. It is identity basis. That's why animals detect you differently, and cats curl up near to you in silence when no one else is around. They're not responding to your words, but to your, without even attempting, your spirit emits a vibration, which is why cats emerge while you're grieving alone, why they concentrate their eyes on you when you're lost in concentration, and why they protect your space like sentinels, are lured to the heavenly brilliance of the world. Cannot see, yet they were created to observe. Think about the very creatures most of the world overlooks or dismisses spiritually awake people as pets, are assigned watchers, especially over those marked for religious purposes. And have you ever wondered why these animals appear to discover you when no one else does? Or why they stick near you during key seasons of your life is because they know they see, they feel. what others overlook, including Saint Francis of Assisi, famed for his profound spiritual relationship with animals, remarked, "Not to damage our modest brethren is our first duty to them, but stopping there is not. We have a higher mission to be of help to them wherever they need it." He believed that animals were not inferior beings, but spiritual companions, knowing what human hearts frequently overlook. This spiritual sensitivity does not only bring peace, but it also disrupts your light. Not only attracts guardians, but also stirs opposition, which is why you've been targeted. That's why those you trusted turned against you, why you've encountered sudden betrayal, unexplainable rejection, and moments of intense spiritual pressure. It's not always personal, it's spiritual, and your light exposes it, unsettling it, exposes latent evil in others around you, perhaps even in those closest to John 15 informs us. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Your simply existence affects atmospheres when you step into a room. Change the spiritual temperature, not because of ego, but because of essence. Yet carrying such power unintentionally nevertheless stirs resistance. Harriet Tubman, one of history's most daring freedom fighters, was famed not only for her bravery, but for she described spiritual intuitions, which are frequently attributed to heavenly guidance. Visions and heightened awareness to danger would drive her and others to cats, were frequently hiding along the Underground Railroad during peaceful nights. The lone company Mute Friends viewers stood close unafraid, as if conscious that they were standing with someone guided by God. Bob Marley, a man who believed in divine justice and spiritual warfare, famously remarked, "A man's greatness is not in how much riches he earns, but in his honesty and capacity to touch others around him positively." At his most intense seasons of songwriting, cats followed him from studio to house and sat calmly nearby, as if mirroring the vibration of his soul through their presence. In more mystical worlds, Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, frequently spoke of. He once stated that a cat is a symbol of the unconscious mind. Could it be that the person staring at you is seeing aspects of your own spirit that your conscious mind cannot yet accept? These creatures reveal you, your mirror, not your exterior self, but your everlasting nature, as Romans 8:19 explains. For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. Every living thing is cats, for example, do not wait passively. Instead, they watch, wait, and respond. Recognize you before you recognize yourself. This is the phase where the world does not understand the light inside you, is not ornamental, it offends the darkness. It is not a spiritual embellishment. It is a weapon. It exposes lies, shows truth, draws some close, and pushes others away, not because of who you are pretending to be, but because of what you were born to carry, even at your lowest. Seasons when others underestimate you, dismiss you, or leave you behind the cats. Come, the animals still show up. They don't care about your bank account, job position, or popularity. About your energy, they respond to the code of heaven put into you. Isaiah 61 says, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you." You may not feel wonderful, you may not feel picked, but your soul glows with heaven's fingerprint. and creation knows it is chosen. 1. You were never created to blend in with the backdrop. You weren't made to merely exist. You were made to shine, disrupt the darkness, and to illuminate what others cannot even perceive. Maybe you've been bothered by the same quiet question for your whole life. Why don't I fit in? Why am I always the... Have you ever walked with an outlier? Someone who is overly intense, sensitive, and aware. Enter a place and felt that your presence alone shifted anything, yet no one might explain why. It's because your soul has sight. You don't simply see through your... When you look into someone's eyes, you don't just hear words, you hear intentions. A frequency that isn't of this world, whether you're conscious of it or not, agitates the superficial, and people have misunderstood you because it awakens the depths. This is why you felt even in a crowd, cats remain silent and spiritual. Have you ever noticed how they appear when the world is calm, and how they move toward you when centuries follow you? If you are feeling lonely, frightened, or lost in contemplation, there's something supernatural about opening your eyes in the dead of night and seeing those. The blazing feline eyes, staring peacefully back at you from across the room, are not a threat, is not dread, but alertness and protection for those whose eyes aren't looking. In John 8:12, Jesus states, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light. Throughout existence as a chosen one, light has been transferred to you, not through merit, but through grace. And just as Jesus went among those who could not really understand him, you bear a spiritual flame that many others simply can't. Understand that your light is not ornamental, it is missional, and it was never meant to be hidden beneath guilt, self-doubt, or fear of being too much. It was meant to radiate, to pierce spiritual atmospheres, to awaken spirits. And yet you may have lived like a candle put away in a closet, burning but invisible, flickering, still glowing yet unnoticed by the eyes of the world, but not by the spirit realm. Never by the spirit realm, nor do men light a candle and place it behind a bushel, but on a candlestick. It gives light to those that are in the house. Matthew 5:15. Even when no one claps for your light, the angels respond to it with gloom, fears it, and the cats, the feline guards that follow it. Have you ever questioned why they appear while others disappear? Why they sit with you in silence when your heart is broken? No one else even recognizes that these creatures do not chase applause or appearances. They move by vibration, align with divine tasks, and respond to light. Yours makes them think of Emily Dickinson, the reclusive poet who poured. During her most lonely years, she avoided the spotlight, but it was her cat Carlo who stayed by her side faithfully, silently, almost like a protector. She once wrote, "Little crazy in the spring is wholesome, even for the king." Could it be that she, like you, lived with a light others didn't understand, but her friend, or James Dean, did? An enigmatic performer with a somber depth and emotional weight few could name. He had a cat named Marcus, who was always observed with him in periods of meditation. Friends remarked that the cat trailed him like a shadow. Perhaps that shadow understood it wasn't chasing a star. It was following a soul that blazed with purpose. Even Albert Schweitzer, theologian and philosopher, talked about cats in his spiritual essays, saying, There are two means of refuge from the sufferings of life: music and cats. I realized that cats offered more than companionship. They were silent spiritual mirrors, showing us what we. In Psalm 36:9, it says, "For with you is the fountain of life in your light. We see light," which is the truth most people overlook. The light within you is not only for yourself, it reveals, reflects, and shines others, and whether or not you've embraced it yet, the entire spirit realm has already responded to it. Some of you have carried this light without ever knowing its actual weight. You felt different, but didn't know why. Sensed things no one else picked up on, felt grief more intensely, and loved more fiercely. Increasing the volume of injustice is not a sign of weakness. Spiritual vision, that's divine tune. What if the very things you're ashamed of? 2 Corinthians 4:6 states, "For God who spoke, 'Let light shine out of darkness,' made his light glow in our hearts, the flame inside you is not man-made. Hence it cannot be extinguished by human ignorance, was illuminated by divine intention. And when God fires a soul, everything changes. So when the cat looks at you and refuses to look away, when it rolls up close you without demanding attention, when it observes your every movement as if defending hallowed territory, don't disregard it. It's not a pet moment. In a prophetic moment, there is something genuinely sacred and extremely frightening about being actually seen, not by people, but by animals. When a cat glances at you, you are not being judged, but rather perceived. Animals, particularly cats, are not. Fooled by charm or charisma, they do not respond to titles, followers, or eloquence. They don't care how you show yourself on the exterior. They respond to vibration, which tells the reality. It communicates louder than words and cannot lie, which is why when a cat comes close to, you are more than just a source of consolation. You are a reassurance from heaven, saying through the fur and silence, "I see you. I know who you are." Their presence isn't just cute or serendipitous, but prophetic. Their proximity represents spiritual alignment, a validation from the unseen realm that John 10:27 states, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." But you see, the animals of God don't only listen to his voice, but to the even when your human interactions feel hollow, he has chosen them. Gifts go unnoticed. Even when your voice has been hushed or warped by trauma, your essence still talks, and your soul continues to produce heavenly. Only the spiritually attuned can detect this frequency, and cats are skilled in spiritual detection. So why do they stroll into the room? When you're grieving in quiet, why do they follow you into places no one else goes? Why do they sit with you? In total calm, without anticipation or need. Because they are not responding to your words, they're responding to your truth, which you sometimes bury. Forget the truth the world has tried to convince you that it doesn't matter. But in the presence of the divine, that truth is a beacon for the creation awaits eagerly. Expect for the children of God to be revealed. Romans 8:19. Even when you've forgotten who you are. Creation hasn't even after you've muted your brightness to fit in with the animals. I still identify your flame when you're vibrating at your most honest. Stripped of ego, stripped of performance, stripped of the desire to understand. That's when cats draw the closest. They don't demand perfection, just presence. and you choose one are present in a manner few people ever learn to be you dwell in. When you feel deeply, the universe responds to that resonance. Consider Maya Angelou, whose poetry and personality moved millions. She frequently spoke. She stated that the calm companionship of animals, particularly cats, provided her with comfort and clarity, provided a form of presence that people frequently failed to bring. They didn't judge. They simply were. And in that being, they understood her essence well before the Nikola Tesla, who credited his obsession with from the invisible powers of the world to the electric spark he felt when touching. As a child, touching a cat set off a lifelong adventure into, was it a heavenly awakening, or a chance that frequency, energy, and light appeared? T.S. Eliot, the renowned poet who wrote extensively about cats and felt they possessed spiritual understanding. As animals who know the spot where you are most yourself, what if your most authentic self, the one you rarely show, is the version of you they've been recognizing all along? And Frida Kahlo, the legendary artist who painted while in anguish and endured through bodily torment, surrounded herself with animals, particularly cats and monkeys in her art. In her life, animals were more than just decorations. They were protective symbols. Friends of spirit during her roughest seasons, they never left her side. As 1 Samuel 16:7 tells us, people gaze at the external appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart, and cats, like the Creator who formed them, look not with the sight, but with spiritual perception. See your heart, not your image. They read your frequency, not your social profile. They are drawn to honesty rather than perfection. Yet there is a deeper truth that most people seldom contemplate. Low vibrations repel animals, particularly those who are spiritually sensitive. Deception, hubris, and ego. They move away from manipulation, competitiveness, bitterness. Yet they draw near to silence, purity, brokenness, and humility. Isn't it amazing that the moments you feel most shattered are the same moments they come closest? Why do animals approach you while people go away? Why do cats protect you? In your silence, solitude, and sorrow, could it be that the very anguish you thought disqualified you proves your validity to the spirit realm? As James 4:6 indicates, God opposes, pride provides grace to the humble, and animals are drawn to humility. Not in, that is what you radiate, not because you try, but because you are chosen. You don't need to pursue validation creation. Heaven has already marked you and the animals. The cats, especially, have already seen you and have been looking at the fire inside of you long before you knew it was burning. Chosen one, your light does not. Your light is born via performance, not from applause, credentials, or the favor of others. From alignment, you've journeyed through a soul polished by fire rather than broken by it. Storms that should have hardened you, yet instead of getting colder, you became cleaner. Instead of losing your radiance, achieved clarity, which is why the animals sense you and guard your sleep and study your face as if they're reading scripture. For in many ways, they aren't just seeing your face, they're reading your spirit, cats. Dogs aren't deceived by charm, and birds don't sing for show children. Don't grin at emptiness, but all of them respond to you. Have you observed how animals quiet in your presence? Children stare at you for longer than expected. Strangers tell you secret without understanding why. It's not because you're asking, but because Proverbs 20:27 states that a man's spirit is the lamp of the Lord searches all the inner recesses of his heart and burns. Though the world may not always perceive it, nature does, as do the creatures. God created humans with a different wisdom, instinct, and spirit. Not reasoning and labels are why they come to you and why they stay, because what you carry is truth, clean and unadulterated, untamed, which is why the world frequently misunderstands you and your truth, disturbs foundations. Your existence disrupts the artificial, yet animals comprehend you instantaneously. You don't have to explain your suffering, depth, or joy. Whatever your burden, they feel it, connect with it, and respond to it. Because their spirits were made to discern what words cannot communicate. Recall. Jane Goodall, the pioneering primatologist, spent her life among animals who should have dreaded her. But instead of drawing near, she was allowed to observe and bond with wild chimps. Because of a frequency, she carried an energy of tranquility and presence. Even nature responded to what if your spirit carries that same frequency. Or contemplate Mr. Rogers, the compassionate soul who revolutionized children's television animals, was attracted to him just as a child, he was known to spend time in contemplative prayer. Around him, even the shyest creatures were peaceful in his presence. It wasn't personality, it was spiritual presence. Chief Seattle was a Native American. A statesman respected for his great spiritual insight once observed, "Man did not knit. He knew that everything is connected, and those who are aligned with it are only strands in the web of existence." Creation naturally recognizes the creators, including Albert Einstein, investigated the wonders of the cosmos, and had a tremendous love for animals, famously remarking that if a man strives to be righteous life, his first act of abstinence is from harming animals. Because justice and resonance go hand in hand, and when you walk in divine harmony, animals respond to that light. Even if people miss it, here's what few dare to tell you: when your vibe rises, so does the warfare. When you fully embody your divine identity, soul becomes both a lighthouse and a lightning rod. You don't only attract comfort, you attract attention. Light attracts searchers, but it also draws shadows, and the brighter the more the spark flickers in the eyes of darkness, according to Ephesians 6:12. Obvious, for we battle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. Our conflict is between forces and the rulers of the darkness in our world, invisible. But you felt it, haven't you? That crushing pressure that comes right before your breakthrough, that odd weariness after intense prayer, that wave of anxiousness without a clear reason that is not. Your imagination is spiritual warfare. It targets more than just your mind. It shifts the environment, upsets the invisible, and you've chosen one that is sensitive. Because you were created with spiritual authority, you don't just endure the storm, you shift it. Your prayers resonate louder than you realize. Your voice carries weight, and even in silence, your presence speaks in the spirit. Isaiah 54:17 promises, "No weapon made against you shall prosper, yet remember that these weapons will still form. The attacks will still come. Relationships may split without reason. Delays will occur. No logical sense betrayals may strike when you least expect them. But it's not because you're cursed. It's because the enemy does not waste ammo on individuals who aren't a threat. Instead, he targets you because your light is. perilous to darkness. But the good news is that the more fierce the combat, extra protection heaven assigns. You don't fight alone, even while you're unconscious of the struggle. Defenders are stationed on your behalf. Psalm 34:7 reminds us that the angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. But those angels don't always come up with trumpets and armor. Occasionally they arrive in fur, with silent paws and blazing eyes. Watch the hallway while you sleep with gifts that disrupt spiritual discord without making a sound. Might it be chosen so that those cats do not just discover you? Because you are tranquil, but under protection. May they be heaven's undercover spies, sent not only to comfort, but to shield, to intercept what you can't see, and fend off what you don't. Hear what has been attempting to reach me in the dark, and what is standing guard. The doorway. What silent battles have I waged, and what guardians have stood? You were never alone beside me, without my even understanding it. Bewilderment, not in your quiet, nor in your conflict, and sometimes the guardian's God. Sens do not seem like soldiers. They look like cats cuddled at your feet, animals who never flinch when you cry, like watchers who stare into the invisible as you rest. So the next time you feel that unexplained tightness, that spiritual weight weighing on your chest, if you spot a cat sitting peacefully nearby, don't dismiss or ignore it. Exodus 23:20 says that you are not being watched, but rather guarded. See, I am sending an angel ahead of you to protect you along the road and bring you to the place I have prepared. This covers both the seen and the unseen. There are both apparent and hidden protectors that you should be aware of. Most individuals will never be reminded that cats around them are more than just creatures. They are spiritual sentinels, supernatural protectors stationed at the border, between what is seen and what is unfolding just behind the curtain. You may think they're merely sitting resting or reacting to nothing, yet in reality, they are interfering in places that your eyes cannot see, but your spirit can feel. Are not only pets, they are watchers, responders, and guards sent for you. Why do they hiss at empty corners, peer into shadows that no one else sees, and sit on your chest? Night presses their presence into you, as if anchoring something sacred, because they sense spiritual movement, see what you don't, and perceive what heaven has appointed them to intercept. As 2 Corinthians 10:4 says, "The weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have heavenly ability to shatter strongholds." You are not the chosen one. Fighting in the physical is walking through a battleground of frequency, force, light, shadow, and cats. Especially those surrounding chosen souls are tuned to this warfare. Have you ever gone through a season so heavy that your cat started acting funny, following you everywhere and waiting outside your door? Restless while you were quiet, immovable when you were concerned. That is not randomness, is their answer to the swelling wave of spiritual attack. Move into place with presence rather than noise. Their quiet is not. Inactivity is guard duty. Sometimes at your darkest hour, a stray cat will appear. It follows you along the street, sleeps near your home, or even the one you've raised for years suddenly clings to you more closely than ever before. It's divine, not sweet or odd. Psalm 34:17 states, "The righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them, and he delivers them from all their woes." and that rescue frequently comes not in thunder, but in the faint footfalls of a feline guardian. Heaven responds in unexpected ways. Forms and the paradox of God's kingdom is that the best weapons frequently seem like weakness. The most strong defenders frequently move in silence. Peaceful cat, curled up at your side, may appear placid, but in the spirit realm, it's a sword drawn, a watcher at your gate, a silent intercessor. Positioned between you and the forces aiming to disrupt your serenity, this isn't. But it's confirmation you didn't just get fortunate with a cat who adores you. You were allocated a spiritual friend because your hidden conflicts were noticed in heaven. Heaven never sends its warriors into war. Unfiltered look at Helen Keller's sense of touch. And during her most severe spiritual awakenings, she had highly developed spiritual sense. Surrounded by animals, particularly cats, her writings describe instances when cats would react to changes in her emotional and energetic state, even before she fully comprehended it herself. Bob Marley also kept cats close during the seasons when he created his most spiritually charged music for his companions. Would talk about how the cats behaved oddly, circling him and eyeing him as he prayed or wrote lyrics. It was more than coincidence that Marley's soul was resonating. And the Guardians observed Vincent van Gogh, the disturbed yet great artist. When humans failed him, he took refuge in animals. In his letters, he mentions cats who would not abandon him. During nights of severe torment, he imagined they were messengers, agents of stillness, offered security by presence. And Corrie ten Boom, the Dutch Christian who hid Jews during the Holocaust, wrote about how animals, particularly cats, appeared to alert her to invisible danger. One specific cat would hiss or scratch. When German forces arrived, even before footfall could be heard, Job 12:10 states, "In his hand is the life of every species, as well as the breath of all humans, are not accidents. They are aligned, and some are allocated, especially if you have the kind of light that makes you a target." Here's the mystery that people rarely explore. Why are the attacks intensifying? Why do you find the weight heavier and the worry greater during this season? Atmosphere closer than before. What is it that is approaching that has stirred both darkness and heavenly protection? Surround your life. You may not see the entire conflict, but you feel it. Heaviness after times of prayer. Cognitive fog when clarity was just within. Reach the abrupt resistance when you're near to a breakthrough. The spiritual tiredness that makes no physical sense. This isn't life being hard. It's spiritual battle, according to Isaiah 59:19. When the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord will raise a standard against him. And standard might appear like an angel with a trumpet, or a cat watching the hallway while you sleep, chosen at the moment. You were marked by heaven and became a menace to hell, not because of your perfection, but because of your potential. Because the light you carry is not only lovely, but also deadly to darkness. You've undoubtedly asked yourself, am I just overly sensitive? Am I imagining everything? You are not too sensitive. You are not insane. And you are aware of this number. Awareness is expensive, but it is precious because those who carry more are protected. More. And now you know the observers aren't simply near, they're assigned. When your cat refuses to absorb, block, or warn. They are aware before you are. Leave your lap after a difficult day when it paces your room like it's detecting something unseen. It's Exodus 14:14. The Lord will fight for you. You just need to be still. Yet even in your stillness, heaven is busy. And occasionally heaven sends its guardians without wings. But on pause, if you've ever wondered why cats act strangely around you, why they emerge in seasons of weakness, why they seem to peer into the darkness behind you, recognize that you are not alone. You are not vulnerable or forgotten. You are protected. Have you ever paused to ask, why does life feel so different for me? Why do I sense things that no one else does? Have you ever pondered why even animals behave differently around me? It's in your head, if it's simply sensitivity, or maybe you're reading too much into it. But hear this now. You're not imagining it. This isn't chance. It's assurance that you feel what others don't, because heaven marked you. God knew you before you took your first breath, before the world ever gave you a name, and He set you aside, not for glory or comfort, but for impact, for divine purpose. Jeremiah 15 echoes this reality. Before I made you in the womb and knew you before you were born, I set you apart and appointed you as a prophet to the countries to which you were called, to carry something everlasting, and that kind of calling makes you unrecognizable to the world is addicted to the superficial, which is why it has misinterpreted and mislabeled you, tried to diminish you. It couldn't categorize what it couldn't understand. Because when your calling comes from heaven, earth has no box that can house you. You were not created to fit. Animals know better. Made to shift. But animals know better. They respond to what humans neglect. Feel how crowds disregard the cats, birds, dogs, and even children. Perceive the spiritual resonance within you. You may not say anything aloud, but presence communicates volumes. You enter into a space, and the environment listens. You sit. In stillness, and animals flock, because your energy isn't passive. It's prophetic. It vibrates with creation itself, as Romans 8:19 is clear. Creation awaits the revelation of God's offspring. You catch that creation is waiting for you, wanting for you to raise that cat. Sitting on your lap while your heart is hurting is not tenderness, it's recognition. It's heaven acknowledging. You don't need a sign written in the sky to navigate through the natural world, are already moving around you. Remember Jonavar, a teenage lady named by God to lead armies. She stated that animals frequently followed her and remained calm. Even during wartime, her opponents referred to her as insane, but her soul was too aligned for the world to describe her as Miyamoto Musashi, the renowned samurai and philosopher who wrote that birds and animals frequently. He responded to energy more truly than men, saying, "The presence of truth unsettles the false and invites the wild." Like you, he lived silently. Awareness going through life with spiritual weight that the world could not name. Saint Seraphim of Sarov, a Russian. The monk, known for his amazing healings, lived alone in the forest with the animals. A bear sat at his feet as he prayed. Birds climbed on his shoulders. They weren't trained. They were drawn just like you. And even Nikola Tesla's thoughts of frequency and energy continue to impact our reality. He believed that his sensitivity originated from a higher design and said, "If you wish to understand the universe, think in terms of energy frequency, vibration, Animals felt it in him, and you have walked through it. More than most people know suffering, isolation, betrayal, delay. And yet you're still standing, still glowing, still selected because of the fire within you. Was never lit by man. It was sealed by God. And what is sealed cannot be shattered by circumstance. 2 Corinthians 21-22 states, He anointed us, put His sign of ownership on us, and placed His Spirit in our hearts. That seal. You are untouchable in spirit, even if you are battle-worn in the natural. The opponent has tried everything, including bewilderment, exhaustion, fear, and shame. Yet you are still here. And that alone is proof that you're more powerful than you realize. You see, all the pressure you've endured wasn't punishment. It was preparation for the goal that necessitates it. Pressure destiny does not grow amid praise. It grows in silence, in valleys, in deserts where no one claps and no one sees. Yet God has been shaping you in the shadows, are like jewels. Prophets are like soldiers. And now, dreams, delays, disturbances, and indications are multiplying. The way animals move around you, the odd timing of occurrences, the nudges you feel in your spirit is heaven's method of whispering. Isaiah 61 declares, Arise, shine, for your light has arrived, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. You thought you were ordinary, but you are not. You are a living, a doorway of holy energy, an answer to prayers you didn't even realize were being prayed, a walking disturbance to darkness, and a carrier of light that alters entire atmospheres. So when everything feels too hefty, when the attacks are relentless and you wonder why you were picked, remember this: even the guardians were sent for a reason. The cats, birds, and unseen watchers come as confirmation. It is not a coincidence that you sometimes hear quiet from the spirit realm. It is not rejection. Plan and the heightened resistance you've recently met is not defeat. It's proximity to breakthrough. Because as the opponent intensifies, it means your next level is close. And when animals start responding like never before, because heaven has already began to trigger something inside you that can. The next time a cat stares at you, don't laugh, don't look, don't reject it as a transitory moment or useless conduct, because what feels like a second in the natural is often a hallowed pause in the supernatural, staring that silent lock. The connection between your soul and theirs is not a coincidence. It is recognition. Recognizing the holy within yourself is a reflection of eternity meeting the eyes of the present, and in that calm, something ancient is becoming. They are not looking at your weariness, but at who you truly are. The wounds, pain, and trauma are not at the version of you that has been betrayed, undervalued, or forgotten. They're seeing through all of that. They're seeing the real you. Sometimes forget the one that the world attempted to bury, but religion couldn't quite define. Isaiah 43:1. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you and summoned you. By name, you are mine. That is the version of you people identify as the summoned one, the soul anointed earlier. You were born the flame that still burns despite every storm, the light that can't be extinguished regardless of how many dark nights you've survived. So perhaps it's time to quit questioning your identity and lowering your voice to make others stop waiting for permission to walk in a role you were created to inhabit. A creature free of ego status and training pauses in your presence. Heaven has already revealed your identity to creation. If humanity hasn't caught up yet, how come creatures who don't know those who have never heard your name and don't comprehend language, respond to you as if they do? Why do they come to you, stay with you, protect you, and never turn away? Because they feel it. Because the very presence changes the atmosphere. Because something divine walks within you. And nature knows what holiness feels like. Job 12:7-10 draws us into this truth. Yet ask the animals, and they will tell you that every life is in his hands. Creature and the breath of all humanity. God's creatures were never meant to be. In many ways, they are ahead of us in spiritual awareness, even though they are under us. They respond to frequency, not fear, and they follow vibration rather than vanity. Light without having proof. Look at Princess Diana, whose presence was described as soothing to animals. On multiple instances, she was seen pausing to connect with strays and horses, who would approach her as if pulled by something unseen. It wasn't her title that attracted them, but her energy. Jim Carrey, well known for his comedy and profound spiritual transformation, once shared how he observed animals behaving differently around him at moments of intense meditation and surrender. Birds would land near him, cats would follow, and dogs would stay still. He remarked, "I recognized Mother Teresa during her missions, frequently observed that even the most wounded animals would find comfort in her company. She believed they were drawn not to her, but to the light of Christ within her. The same light exists in you and Albert." Einstein, a man of science and spirit, witnessed what his cat would become. Depending on the emotional frequency in the room, he decided that energy was more important than matter, was the language of all living species. So when that cat looks at you, it's not curious. It confirms what God has already said over your life. Long ago, confirming that even when the world says you're too much or not enough, creation says you are exactly who you were meant to be. Psalm 139:14 says, "I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully fashioned. Your works are marvelous, and I know that full. Your soul was not sewn together by happenstance. Rather, it was woven with force. Kind of power that makes even the earth respond. And perhaps you've knew it all along in your quietest times, in those hours when you couldn't explain the anguish in your heart, the thirst for more, the want to belong, pull towards something better. That anguish wasn't emptiness, but a heavenly summons, pulse reverberating through your soul, telling you that you weren't designed to simply exist. You were created to awaken others, to awaken the earth, to awaken destiny you thought you had. The aching was loneliness, but it was the sound of purpose attempting to rise. You believed the animals were random, but they, messengers. You believed your presence was misinterpreted, yet it was always. According to Romans 11:29, God's gifts and calling are irrevocable. It cannot be undone by pain, rejection, or delay. Reduce it, and the world is beginning to feel the stir. Your light isn't simply, the present is activated. So allow this reality to settle in your spirit. When animals respond, when the environment alters, and the invisible appears to orbit your life, it's because heaven has unleashed a frequency through you that can no longer be hidden. You are not only gleaming, but glowing. On assignment, You were never meant to blend in. Instead, you were meant to bear revelation. You were intended to change the world, and now you are awakening. Therefore, rise selected. Take one step into your calling without apology. Speak with the power that heaven placed on your tongue. Walk with the confidence of someone who knows they were sent, not just born. The world you see around you is only part of the story. There is a conflict in the invisible, and your very presence carries weight in that sphere. You don't just enter a room, you shift it. If your soul emits a frequency so powerful that even the animals pause, reverence that isn't your imagination, but divine design, there is a glory lying on you, which cannot and will not stay hidden any longer. If nature reacts to your spirit, then ask, why can't you? Why do you still shrink when the spirit calls you to rise? Why do you doubt what heaven has already decided? Perhaps it's time to start seeing oneself through the eyes of those who have never been taught to lie, who understand truth without words, those who sense your energy and sit beside you without explanation. They notice it, and now you do as well. You are not randomly selected for each trial.